The Galaxy Council chamber was built to make visitors feel small. The ceiling rose so high that even the strongest eyes could not see its end. Light flowed across the walls like slow water, changing color with every spoken word. Hundreds of seats curved around the center floor, each one shaped for a different body. Some were tall and thin, others wide and low, others floated slightly above the ground. The chamber was never silent. There was always a low sound. Like breath passing through stone, humanity's seat stood empty. Rin noticed it the moment she stepped onto the observation tier. She paused, her hands resting on the rail, her eyes drawn to the gap where the human delegation usually sat. The seat lights were dim. The data panels were dark. No flags, no symbols, no motion at all. That's strange, she said softly. Beside her, Hannah Soul adjusted the thin display band on her wrist. They're late, Hannah said. They're often late. Rin did not answer. Humanity had been many things over the years: loud, stubborn, emotional, but careless with protocol was not one of them. When humans were late, it usually meant something had gone wrong. Below them, the council session came to order. The central floor lit up as the speaker's platform rose from the ground. The speaker today was tall and silver-skinned, their voice calm and smooth as it carried across the chamber. The session will begin, the speaker said. Agenda Item 1. The Human Compliance Review. A ripple of interest moved through the seats. Rin felt it even from above. Humanity was always a popular topic. Too young, some said. Too fast. Too proud. Hannah leaned closer. This will not be pleasant. Rin nodded. She had spent years as a council aide, watching species argue, threaten, and bargain. But talks about humanity always felt different. There was tension in them, like a stretched line that might snap. On the floor, a figure stepped forward. Ambassador Daquan. He was human, middle-aged, with dark hair touched by gray. He wore no bright colors, no medals, no signs of rank. Only a simple dark suit, clean and plain. A murmur spread through the chamber. So they did come, Hannah whispered. Yes, Rin said. But only one. Ow. Daquan stopped at the center of the floor. He stood straight, hands relaxed at his sides. He did not bow. He did not raise his voice. He waited. The speaker tilted their head. Ambassador Quan, you are alone. Yes. Daquan said. The council expected a full delegation, the speaker said. The council will receive one. Daquan replied. Some members shifted in their seats. Others tapped data panels or shared private signals. Rin could feel the impatience growing. Very well, the speaker said. We will proceed. Ambassador. The council has reviewed humanity's continued refusal to accept the Resource Limitation Accord and the Population Movement Act. These laws exist for stability. Humanity's actions threaten that stability. Daquan listened without moving. His face showed no anger, no fear, only focus. The council demands compliance, the speaker continued. Failure to comply will result in sanctions, restricted travel, and loss of shared infrastructure access. There it was. The usual threat. Rin glanced at Hannah. They think this will work. Hannah did not smile. They always do. Daquan raised his hand slightly. May I speak? The speaker paused, then nodded. You may. Daquan took a slow breath. On behalf of humanity, I thank the council for its time. We have listened to your concerns for many years. We understand your fears. We understand your need for control. A few members reacted to that word, but he continued. Humanity has reviewed the demands placed upon us. We have considered the sanctions you proposed. We have considered the future you offer. He looked around the chamber, meeting no one's eyes directly. Yet somehow addressing everyone? We decline. The word fell into the chamber like a stone into deep water. Several council members began speaking at once. The speaker raised a hand for order. You decline? The speaker said. Ambassador, this is not a request. Daquan nodded. We are aware. You misunderstand your position, the speaker said. Humanity benefits greatly from council membership. Trade, protection, shared knowledge. Yes, Daquan said. We do. Then explain this decision, the speaker demanded. Daquan's voice remained calm. Humanity joined the council seeking cooperation, not permission. Over time, we found that our growth was treated as a problem, our independence as a threat. We were asked to slow, to shrink, to limit ourselves for the comfort of others. J-Rin felt a tightness in her chest. She had read the reports. She knew how often human proposals were delayed, restricted, or quietly buried. We adapted, Daquan continued. We compromised. We waited. And now you refuse, the speaker said. Yes, Daquan said again. Because waiting has reached its end. Okay. A council member near the front rose from their seat. You overestimate yourselves, they said sharply. Humanity is young. Without the council, you will struggle. Daquan turned slightly toward the voice. We have always struggled, another voice joined in. This is reckless. You cannot survive alone. Daquan did not argue. We will not be alone. The chamber buzzed louder. J-Rin could feel the shift now. The move from confidence to irritation. The council will not allow chaos, the speaker said. If humanity refuses compliance, enforcement will follow. Daquan's expression softened just slightly. That is why I am here. He tapped the device on his wrist. The chamber lights dimmed for a moment, then stabilized. This is humanity's final formal statement to the Galaxy Council, Daquan said. After today, no further representation will be sent. Hannah inhaled sharply. Final, she whispered. Daquan continued. Humanity is withdrawing from all council systems, agreements, and shared infrastructures. Our trade routes will close. Our stations will go dark. Our fleets will leave shared space. That is impossible, someone shouted. Daquan did not react. It is already underway. J-Rin's console lit up with incoming data. Alerts, status changes. She stared at them, her breath shallow. Automated notices, Hannah said, reading her own feed. Human facilities. Disconnecting. Speaker's voice hardened. This is an act of defiance, Daquan said. It is an act of choice. You cannot simply leave, the speaker said. We can, Daquan replied. And we are. Silence spread, slow and heavy. Daquan lowered his hand. Humanity bears no anger toward the council. We wish you stability and peace. We will not interfere in your affairs, as you will not interfere in ours. He bowed then. A small and respectful motion. This concludes humanity's participation, he said. He turned and walked away. No guards stopped him. No orders were given. The council watched, stunned, as the human ambassador left the chamber alone. J-Rin felt cold. They planned this, she said. Hannah nodded. For a long time, below, the speaker called for emergency review sessions, for impact studies, for response teams. But the words felt hollow now. J-Rin looked again at the empty human seat. For the first time, she did not see absence as weakness. She saw distance, and she felt deep inside. The quiet fear that the council had mistaken patience for dependence. Far from the chamber, beyond the edge of mapped space, human ships were already moving, and the council was only just beginning to understand what it had lost. Long before the Galaxy Council learned to fear silence, humanity learned how to endure it. Earth had never been gentle with its people. Storms grew stronger, oceans rose, and the ground itself seemed to protest human presence. Nations fought over water, food, and space. Cities burned, rebuilt, and burned again. For a time, many believed humanity would not survive its own mistakes. But humans adapted. When the air grew dirty, they learned to clean it. When the soil failed, they learned to grow food without it. When borders caused war, they learned slowly and painfully. The cooperation was not kindness, but survival. By the time humanity reached the stars, it carried scars that never fully healed. It also carried lessons that never faded. Admiral Suhan remembered those lessons well. He stood on the command deck of the Ark ship Dawn Path. watching the steady movement of stars beyond the wide glass panel. The ship was older than most fleets, built in layers over decades. It did not look fast or beautiful. It looked solid, reliable. Fleet status. Suhan asked. A young officer, Jin Woo, checked his display. All sections report green. Civilian deck stable. Life support at full efficiency. Suhan nodded. Navigation? Jump coordinates locked, Jinwoo said. Beyond mapped space. Suhan allowed himself a slow breath. Beyond mapped space. Words that once meant danger now meant hope. Behind him, screens showed images of Earth. Not the broken Earth of old records, but the restored one. Green belts around cities. Clean oceans. Careful balance. Humanity had learned restraint, but only after nearly losing everything. Last transmission from the Council came through an hour ago. Jinwoo said carefully. Suhan did not turn. And no response was sent, Jinwoo said. Good, Suhan replied. Humanity had not always planned to leave when they first joined the Galaxy Council. There was excitement, curiosity, hope. The idea that humanity was no longer alone felt like a dream made real. They shared technology. They shared culture. They shared labor at first. The Council welcomed human effort. Human engineers repaired old stations others had abandoned. Human doctors worked in systems no one else wanted. Human traders accepted dangerous routes for little reward. Then humanity began to grow. Their colonies spread fast, not through conquest, but necessity. Their population increased, not from ambition, but survival instinct. Humans built where others would not. Cold worlds. Hot worlds. Empty places. The Council grew uneasy. Reports labeled humanity as unstable, unpredictable, too adaptable. Restrictions followed. Limits on expansion. Limits on resource use. Limits on movement. Human leaders argued at first. They protested. They negotiated. Then they adapted again. On Mars beneath red soil, entire cities were redesigned to recycle everything. On distant moons, humans learned to live with little light and less gravity. In deep space, habitats were built that could move, split, survive alone. Humanity learned how to live without help. Han remembered the meeting when the final decision was made. No shouting. No anger. Just silence and long looks across a table. We cannot keep shrinking, one leader had said. And we cannot fight the Council, another replied. Suhan had spoken last. Then we leave. The word had frightened many. Leave meant unknowns, danger, loss, but staying meant slow death. Preparation took years, not announced. Not celebrated, quiet. Shipyards were built far from main routes, hidden among dust clouds and dead systems. Engineers like Myra Lee worked endless shifts. Assembling vessels meant not for war, but for life. These ships must last generations, Myra had said, tightening a panel with tired hands. No shortcuts. She had designed systems that could repair themselves, farms that could adapt to any soil, power cores that could run for centuries. Children were taught star navigation alongside history, languages alongside engineering. Every skill passed on twice, in case one failed. Humanity did not pack weapons. They packed seeds. They packed books. They packed memories. On Dawn Path. Suhan walked through civilian decks. Families moved calmly, guided by soft lights and quiet voices. There was fear, yes, but also purpose. A child pressed her face to the glass. Is that where we're going? She asked her mother, pointing at the stars. Her mother smiled gently. Somewhere like that. Suhan stopped nearby. We don't know exactly where, he said kindly. But we know how to build when we arrive. The child considered this, then nodded. That's okay. Humans had always been good at starting over. Across known space, similar scenes unfolded. Arc ships detached from stations. Fleets adjusted course. Human-owned jump gates powered down. One by one, automated messages were left behind. Polite. Clear. Thank you for the cooperation. We wish you stability. Please do not follow. The council received these messages too late, on dawn path. Alarms sounded softly. Not warnings, but confirmations. Final departure window reached, Jinwoo said. All fleets reporting ready. Suhan returned to the command seat. His hands rested on the armrests. Steady despite the weight pressing on his chest. Begin jump sequence, he ordered. The stars outside stretched, bending into lines of light. The ship hummed, deep and steady. Suhan closed his eyes briefly. He thought of Earth, of mistakes and forgiveness, of a species that learned to survive not by ruling others, but by refusing to disappear as space folded around the ship. Suhan opened his eyes. We endure, he said quietly. The fleet vanished from known space. Behind them, the galaxy continued, as it always had, councils argued. Borders shifted. Power played its old games, but a line had been crossed. Humanity had chosen motion over permission, and far beyond the maps others trusted. They were already beginning again. The silence did not arrive all at once. It came in pieces, small enough to ignore at first, on the main trade lanes. Ships waited longer than usual for docking clearance. Automated signals lagged by seconds, then minutes. Supply schedules slipped just a little. At first, no one was worried. Human systems were known for efficiency, not mystery. Delays happened. Unipark noticed the pattern before most others. She worked in the council's logistics division, quiet place filled with numbers, charts, and slow-moving screens. Una trusted numbers more than words. Words could hide meaning. Numbers rarely did. She leaned closer to her console, eyes scanning a line of red symbols. That's not right, she murmured. A nearby analyst glanced over. What is it? Human freight hubs, Una said. 3 just went offline. No warning. No maintenance notice. The analyst shrugged. Probably internal updates. Una shook her head. All at once? Across different systems? She pulled up another display. Then another. More red. Human-operated jump gates showed reduced power flow. Communication relays routed through human stations returned only basic acknowledgments. No operators. No live response. Una felt a slow chill. She sent a priority notice upward, across the council complex. Similar alerts appeared. Jae Rin was reviewing reports when her display flashed. Trade lane interruptions? She said aloud. Hannah Soul stood beside her. Minor. Jae Rin read deeper. Her face tightened. No, coordinated. They shared a look. Below them, emergency subsessions formed. Committees argued over definitions. Was this a failure or a protest? A technical issue or a political move? The humans are pressuring us, one member said. They will restore access once sanctions are lifted. Another agreed. Jae Rin listened in silence. She remembered Daequan's calm voice. Final, formal statement. Final on the trade world of Kesh Minor, cargo ships sat idle. Human dock controllers had always handled the most dangerous loads. Now their stations were dark. A dockmaster paced, pulling at his crest in frustration. We need clearance, he barked. Those reactors won't wait. A technician shook her head. The system routes through a human relay. It's not responding. Bypass it, the dockmaster snapped. We can't, the technician replied. It was designed by humans. Modular, but locked. Cross space, similar scenes played out. Medical supply chains stalled. Terraforming arrays slowed. Old stations that humans had kept running began to fail. The galaxy had leaned on human labor without noticing. On the council floor, the speaker called for order. We demand an explanation, the speaker said. A human channel was opened. Only an automated response appeared. Thank you for your message. Humanity has withdrawn from shared operations. We wish you stability. The channel. Closed murmurs filled the chamber. This is unacceptable. a council member shouted. They are violating agreements. They are not bound by agreements they have left, another replied. Jae-rin felt the mood shift. Not anger now. Worry. Why Yuna Park stood before her supervisor, hands clasped tightly. It's spreading, Yuna said. Every system where humans managed core infrastructure is degrading. How long until recovery? The supervisor asked. Yuna hesitated. If we rebuild ourselves? Years? If we try to copy human designs without understanding them? Longer. The supervisor exhaled sharply. Human systems had been open, but not simple. Humans documented everything, but their designs assumed a mindset others did not share. Redundancy, flexibility, decision-making at the lowest level. Other species preferred central control, without humans. That control became a weakness. Jae-rin watched reports scroll past. Food shortages on fringe worlds. Energy rationing in shared stations. Rising disputes over who was responsible. They didn't sabotage anything, Hannah said quietly. No, Jae-rin agreed. They just left. Council convened another emergency session. This is temporary, the speaker said, voice firm. Humanity depends on council markets. They will return. Yuna listened from the back, doubt heavy in her chest. She had reviewed human trade data. Their exports had been decreasing for years, their internal networks growing stronger. They had been preparing attempts to trace human fleets failed. Their jump signatures faded beyond known routes. Sensor nets returned only static. They planned this withdrawal with precision, Yuna reported. Decades of preparation, council member scoffed. No species abandons the galaxy. Yuna looked up. They didn't abandon it. They removed themselves from it. Silence followed. Jae-rin remembered a human phrase she had once heard. When the system is broken, step outside it. Days turned into weeks. The silence grew heavier. Pirate activity increased. Along former human-patrolled routes, small conflicts flared where humans had once mediated. Relief efforts failed without human logistics. The council issued orders, sanctions, threats, no. On a remote station, a group of engineers stared at a failing power core. The human fix always worked, one said. Yes, another replied, because they expected failure. Jae-rin stood at the observation tier again, staring at the empty human seat. They were never careless, she said softly. They were careful. Hannah folded her arms. Careful enough to leave us breathing, but struggling. They didn't want revenge, Jae-rin said. They wanted distance. The council finally authorized a full review of humanity's role in galactic stability. The findings were not comforting. Human systems supported nearly 30% of interspecies logistics. Human conflict resolution teams had quietly prevented dozens of wars. Human engineers maintained structures no one else wanted to touch. The galaxy had grown used to human reliability. Now it felt the absence like a missing limb. In a closed meeting, the speaker spoke more quietly than ever before. We may have misjudged them, the speaker said. Jae-rin felt no satisfaction, only a deep, slow dread. Yuna Park looked at her final report, hands trembling slightly. Humanity did not collapse, she said. They did not threaten us. They simply removed their support. And we are failing without it, someone finished. Far beyond council space, human fleets moved in silence, guided by systems built to last. No messages were sent back. No warnings given. They had already said goodbye. The galaxy listened to the quiet left behind, and for the first time, it understood that silence could be louder than war. The council believed it understood what humanity had taken with them, ships, trade, labor, roots. They were wrong. What humanity truly took was understanding Mira. Lee stood inside the frame of an old jump gate, her boots resting on metal that would soon be dust. The structure loomed around her like the bones of something ancient. It had once connected 3 major systems. Now it would connect nothing. Final check, she said calmly. Her team moved with quiet focus. No rushing. No hesitation. They had practiced this too many times to feel doubt now. Stability confirmed, one engineer replied. Power draw? Mira asked. Minimal. Collapse will be clean. Myra nodded. Begin shutdown. Lights along the gate dimmed, one ring at a time. The hum faded into silence. This gate would not explode. It would not damage surrounding space. It would simply stop existing. Human design favored responsibility. Across council space, similar operations unfolded. Human engineers dismantled shipyards, stations, and support arrays they had built over decades. Nothing was destroyed in anger. Nothing was left broken. Everything was removed carefully. On a data world near the core, knowledge archivist Sun Mi sealed the final access node. Her hands moved slowly, almost gently. These records will remain, she said to her assistant, but only for those who understand why they exist. The assistant hesitated. The council will be angry. Sun Mi smiled faintly. They are already angry. This is mercy. Human archives were not locked by force. They were locked by context. Cultural references. Ethical frameworks. Fail-safes that required patience and cooperation. Other species called it unnecessary. Humans called it safety. Back on the council, Unipark reviewed a strange report. They left us tools, she said slowly, but not instructions we can follow. Her supervisor frowned. Explain. The systems adapt, Una said. They change based on use. Without understanding human priorities, they degrade. Then force them to comply? The supervisor snapped. Una looked up. Force whom? There was no one left to force. Jaren watched footage from former human worlds. The cities stood intact. Power flowed. Atmospheres were stable. Then, one by one, the lights dimmed. Not failure. Withdrawal. Humanity did not scorch the ground behind them. They returned worlds to neutral states. Removing infrastructure that could cause harm if misused? They're undoing themselves, Anna said quietly. They're cleaning up, Jae-Rin replied. On a shared agricultural world, crops failed without human-managed climate systems. The local council argued for days before realizing the systems were never meant to be permanent. Human engineers had always warned them. This is temporary, they had said. Learn while we're here. No one had listened. Myra Lee boarded the last service ship, exhaustion heavy in her bones. She looked back once at the empty framework drifting behind her. Did we leave too much? Her second asked. Mira shook her head. We left enough. Human generosity had limits in council space. Emergency measures stacked upon emergency measures. Species tried to replace human systems with centralized control. They failed. Human technology was built to expect mistakes, to expect failure. It allowed small problems so they would never become large ones. Other designs demanded perfection. Perfection broke easily. Unipark compiled another report. Energy losses up 12%. Trade efficiency down 20%. Conflict incidents rising. She added a note at the end. Human systems were never just machines. They were philosophies. J. Rin attended a closed session where the speaker finally asked the question no one wanted to hear. What exactly did humanity take? Silence followed. They took the burden, J-Rin said quietly. The work no one wanted. The speaker looked at her. And left us what? Responsibility, J-Rin replied. Far away, beyond council reach, human fleets settled into new orbits. Autonomous habitats unfolded like flowers in vacuum. Power cores ignited softly. Children watched artificial suns rise for the first time, Suhan observed from a quiet deck. His posture relaxed for the first time in years. Reports scrolled past him. Stable, growing, alive. We did it, Jinwoo said softly. We're still doing it, Suhan replied. Humanity began again. Not with conquest, but with care. They planted ecosystems designed to heal themselves. They built cities meant to change with their people. They recorded their history honestly, without hiding their failures. Remember this, teachers told their students. We left because staying would have broken us. No messages were sent back. No warnings given. In council space, shortages worsened. Old grudges returned. Species blamed one another. The vacuum humanity left behind pulled everything toward conflict. J-Rin stood alone, one cycle, watching the stars. They didn't trap us, she said to no one. They freed themselves. Hannah stood beside her and showed us what we refused to learn. What's that? J-Rin asked. That stability isn't enforced, Hannah said. It's maintained. Council began to understand too late. Humanity had not taken power. They had taken patience, and the galaxy was poorer without it. The problems did not explode all at once. They grew slowly, like cracks spreading through stone. At first, the Galaxy Council believed order could be restored. Emergency committees were formed. New laws were passed. Control was tightened. Systems were placed under direct oversight. It did not help. Where humans had once worked quietly between borders, now only rules remained. Rules argued with other rules. Decisions waited for approval that never came. On the border world of Talum, two species argued over water rights. For years, a small human team had managed the flow, adjusting usage during dry cycles. They were gone now. The reservoirs dropped. This is theft, one governor shouted. This was agreed upon, another replied. No human mediator arrived. No calm voice asked for patience. The talks failed. The first shots were fired 3 days later. Reports like this spread across. Council Space YUNA Park read them with growing weight in her chest. Conflict indicators rose. Relief response times doubled. Starvation appeared in systems that had once been stable. They always handled the edges, she said quietly during a briefing. The places that break first. Her supervisor rubbed his eyes. We did not ask them to, no Yuna said. We expected them to. J-Rin walked through the council halls, listening to arguments echo off polished walls. Accusations flew freely now. This species failed its duty. That one hoarded resources. No one said the word human, but it hung in the air. Pirate fleets grew bolder. Routes once guarded by human patrols became hunting grounds. Insurance systems collapsed. Trade slowed to a crawl. Emergency fleets were deployed. But they reacted instead of preventing. Humanity had always prevented. On a failing station near the outer rim, an engineer stared at flickering lights. The human fix bought us 10 years, she said. We never learned how it worked. The station went dark 2 cycles later. The council tried to copy human designs. The results were unstable. Without the cultural rules built into them, systems optimized for speed or control, not balance, they overheated, they broke. J-Rin attended another closed session. The speaker looked older now, posture less certain. We underestimated the scale of humanity's contribution, the speaker admitted. Silence followed. They did not rule us, J-Rin said. They supported us, and now? The speaker asked, and now, J-Rin replied, we stand alone. Beyond council space, humanity faced its own trials. On a new world orbiting a dim star, settlers worked under heavy skies. The soil was stubborn, the air thin. This will take time, a planner said. We have time, Suhan replied. That was the difference. Human children learned to measure progress in decades, not cycles. Mistakes were expected, failures recorded, not hidden. We don't rush survival, teachers said. We build it. Back in the galaxy, urgency ruled. A famine on one world pushed refugees into another. Borders closed. Fleets clashed. The council issued a declaration of unified defense. It came too late. Yuna, Park, watched casualty projections climb. She remembered the human systems she once studied. They assumed stress, she whispered. That's why they held. Henna Sol stood beside J-Rin at the observation tier again. The chamber below was louder than ever. They're fighting the vacuum, Yana said. They don't understand it, J-Rin replied. It isn't empty. It pulls. On a quiet human habitat, a memorial wall was completed. Names were etched, not of wars, but of lessons learned. Never centralize what must adapt. Never rush what must last. Never mistake patience for weakness. Suhan stood before it briefly, then turned away. We keep moving, he said. Humanity expanded slowly, carefully. No empires. No demands. Only space and work. Back in council space, a vote was proposed. Open negotiations, a member said. Invite humanity back. Unipark looked up sharply. J-Rin felt her breath catch. The speaker hesitated. We do not know where they are. And we search, someone replied. The vote passed narrowly, for the first time since humanity left. The council spoke not with authority, but with need. The vacuum had taken hold. And it was still growing beyond the edge of every known map, where sensors once failed and charts ended in warnings. Humanity was learning how to breathe again. The stars there looked different. Not brighter, not dimmer, just unfamiliar. They did not belong to old roots or ancient stories. They were new, waiting to be named. The first settlements were quiet places. No towers, no grand symbols. Only structures built close to the ground, shaped to survive heat, cold, and time. Suhan walked through one such settlement under a pale artificial sky. The light shifted slowly to match human rhythms. Day and night were chosen, not forced. Atmosphere stable, Jin Wu reported, walking beside him. Ecosystem balance holding, Suhan nodded. Good. Let it grow at its own speed. That had become humanity's rule. They did not rush worlds into obedience. They studied them, listened to them, adjusted plans when the land refused to cooperate. On one rocky planet, early shelters collapsed under unexpected storms. The settlers rebuilt farther inland. On another, native microbes reacted poorly to human presence. The colony paused expansion for years while solutions were found. No, one called it failure. They called it learning. Children born beyond council space grew up without knowing the old chambers or endless debates. They learned about Earth first, then the long journey, then the choice to leave. Why didn't we stay and fight? One child asked during a lesson. The teacher answered simply, because winning there would have meant losing who we were. The child nodded, satisfied. Human history was taught without pride or shame, only cause and effect. Meanwhile, the search began, in council space. Exploration fleets were launched with careful words and quiet hope. No demands were written into their mission logs, only requests. Find them. The fleets followed old trade paths first, then former human routes. Then guesses they found nothing. Human jump signatures were subtle, layered, and adaptive, designed not to hide, but to fade. Unipark studied the data late into each cycle. They didn't vanish, she said softly. They moved beyond how we look. J-Rin listened from across the room. They stopped leaving footprints. In human space, a new star ignited. It was not born naturally. It was guided. Suhan stood with other leaders at a safe distance as the controlled fusion process stabilized. Light bloomed slowly, steady and warm. No cheers followed. Only quiet respect. We will not rush this either, Suhan said. It must last. Humanity began to change. Generations passed without council oversight, without limits placed from outside. Cultures shifted. Languages softened. Identity grew wider. They were still human, but no longer defined by resistance. A memorial was built near the first artificial star. Not large. Not grand. It listed choices. Leave instead of break. Build instead of demand. Wait instead of rush. No enemies were named. Back in council space, the search fleets returned empty. One commander spoke before the council. They are alive, thriving, but they do not wish to be found. The speaker closed their eyes briefly. Rin felt something settle in her chest. Acceptance. They didn't run, she said later to Hannah. They stepped forward. Hannah nodded. Into a future that didn't need us. On a distant human world, Suhan watched children play under open sky. Real sky now. Terraforming had succeeded. He felt old, content. We won't go back, Jinwoo said quietly, standing beside him. No, Suhan agreed. We won't. Humanity had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. They were no longer a species waiting for permission. They were becoming a people at peace with time far away. The galaxy continued to struggle, and far beyond it, humanity endured. The problems did not explode all at once. They grew slowly, like cracks spreading through stone. At first, the Galaxy Council believed order could be restored. Emergency committees were formed. New laws were passed. Control was tightened. Systems were placed under direct oversight. It did not help. Where humans had once worked quietly between borders, now only rules remained. Rules argued with other rules. Decisions waited for approval that never came. On the border world of Talam, two species argued over water rights. For years, a small human team had managed the flow, adjusting usage during dry cycles. They were gone now. The reservoirs dropped. This is theft. One governor shouted. This was agreed upon. Another replied. No human mediator arrived. No calm voice asked for patience. The talks failed. The first shots were fired 3 days later. Reports like this spread across. Council Space YUNA Park read them with growing weight in her chest. Conflict indicators rose. Relief response times doubled. Starvation appeared in systems that had once been stable. They always handled the edges, she said quietly during a briefing. The places that break first. Her supervisor rubbed his eyes. We did not ask them to, Yuna said. We expected them to. Jae-rin walked through the council halls, listening to arguments echo off polished walls. Accusations flew freely now. This species failed its duty. One hoarded resources. No one said the word human, but it hung in the air. Pirate fleets grew bolder. Routes once guarded by human patrols became hunting grounds. Insurance systems collapsed. Trade slowed to a crawl. Emergency fleets were deployed. But they reacted instead of preventing. Humanity had always prevented. On a failing station near the outer rim, an engineer stared at flickering lights. The human fix bought us 10 years, she said. We never learned how it worked. The station went dark 2 cycles later. The council tried to copy human designs. The results were unstable. Without the cultural rules built into them, systems optimized for speed or control, not balance. They overheated. They broke. Jae-rin attended another closed session. The speaker looked older now, posture less certain. We underestimated the scale of humanity's contribution, the speaker admitted. Silence followed. They did not rule us, Jae-rin said. They supported us. And now? The speaker asked. And now, Jae-rin replied, we stand alone. Beyond council space, humanity faced its own trials. On a new world orbiting a dim star, settlers worked under heavy skies. The soil was stubborn, the air thin. This will take time, a planner said. We have time, Suhan replied. That was the difference. Human children learned to measure progress in decades, not cycles. Mistakes were expected. Failures recorded, not hidden. We don't rush survival, teachers said. We build it. Back in the galaxy, urgency ruled. A famine on one world pushed refugees into another. Borders closed. Fleets clashed. The council issued a declaration of unified defense. It came too late, Yuna. Park watched casualty projections climb. She remembered the human systems she once studied. They assumed stress, she whispered. That's why they held. Hannah Soul stood beside Jae-rin at the observation tier again. The chamber below was louder than ever. They're fighting the vacuum, Hannah said. They don't understand it, Jae-rin replied. It isn't empty. It pulls. On a quiet human habitat, a memorial wall was completed. Names were etched, not of wars, but of lessons learned. Never centralize what must adapt. Never rush what must last. Never mistake patience for weakness. Suhan stood before it briefly, then turned away. We keep moving, he said. Humanity expanded slowly, carefully. No empires. No demands. Only space and work. Back in council space, a vote was proposed. Open negotiations, a member said. Invite humanity back. Lena Park looked up sharply. J-Rin felt her breath catch. The speaker hesitated. We do not know where they are. Then we search, someone replied. The vote passed narrowly, for the first time since humanity left. The council spoke not with authority, but with need. The vacuum had taken hold, and it was still growing.